The president has activated FEMA and 2 massive naval hospital ships to assist with patient care on both coasts. The Treasury Department has proposed a $1 trillion economic stimulus package to help struggling businesses.
Closer to home, Governor Jay Inslee today spoke about the economic challenges that lie ahead and how his administration will address them.
We know that we are heading for some really choppy economic waters. And like when we face any squall, we know that we're going to get through that squall and that storm. But it is going to be tough while we do that.
King County is also taking action, converting a soccer field near the Shoreline Pool on 1st Avenue Northeast into a temporary 200-bed hospital. King 5's Tony Black is live at that soccer field where significant progress has already been made. Tony.
Yeah, good evening to you, Joyce. When we got here earlier this afternoon, there wasn't much up here beyond just this fence and closed signs, and they've already made that significant progress right now. Now, the city says that they have pledged to do their part to help this global crisis, and for some of the residents that we spoke with, they say they get that, but this is still pretty weird. This soccer field in Shoreline is turning into a temporary hospital where King County will send those who are sick with the coronavirus or have been exposed to it or could be. They'll also send those who can't stay home because they could compromise others or just have nowhere else to go. County officials say up to 200 beds will be here, but it's not clear how long it will be before patients begin showing up. This is one of several locations King County has mentioned they are working on as sites for those with the virus. Issaquah and Kent also have locations, but this is one of the first being built to serve as a hospital. The city of Shoreline in a release said they must do their part to combat the global crisis. They also noted King County will have to meet standards related to security, waste control, access, among others, before anyone can stay here. The nearby tennis courts and park are open, so several people were nearby both playing and watching.
I can't believe what's going on. This is the field I grew up playing soccer on. It's in the neighborhood, it's in the community. It's bizarre how close this is getting to home and what a big impact it's having on everybody.
Yet another change for everyday lives amid the coronavirus outbreak.
I don't know where the end is. It's every day it gets worse. It becomes a bigger issue, bigger deal.
Now, another man that we spoke with said that he could not believe they were actually building this here, believes that it shouldn't even be here in the first place. But beyond that, the overall general consensus from most of the people that we spoke with out here is that they understand we are in truly different times. For now, here in Shoreline, I'm Tony Black, King 5 News.
Tony, thank you. A live look tonight at the U.S. Capitol building in D.C., where the U.S. Senate approved an emergency bill, a second relief bill. It provides some paid sick leave and also virus testing for anyone whose doctor deems it necessary. President Trump signed it into law. Americans could receive 2 checks from the government as part of a $1.2 trillion proposed stimulus plan.
The U.S.-Canada border closed today to all non-essential travel, and immediately things look different. David Mulco's in British Columbia tonight.
I have never seen it this quiet. Just take a look here. The feeling here, eerie. This is the Pacific Highway crossing, the truck crossing we call it, because if you're not a trucker or someone who has an essential reason to cross, you're not getting through.
We have a special lane for the truckers to come in.
Kenny Lord has turned into a roadside salesman.
Maybe some perfume for their wives.
Trying to get anyone headed into the U.S. to help keep this duty-free shop afloat.
How much has business dropped off, would you say?
Probably a good 70%.
And it's about to get worse after the Prime Minister announced
travelers will no longer be permitted to cross the border for recreation and tourism.
Though Canadians trying to race back home are still allowed to cross.
It's like a ghost town. Yeah, very quiet.
Which meant at the Peace Arch that still read, "May these gates never be closed." Pat Will and her dog Rita didn't have any trouble practicing some social distancing.
I think it's smart. I like to see that it's empty and there's nobody around. It's what it should be.
The joint U.S.-Canada move designed to stem the flow of potential coronavirus carriers without impacting $2.7 billion in daily trucking and trade.
It is critical for us to preserve supply chains between our 2 countries.
Do you think that was the right decision, though, to close the border?
You got to stop it somehow.
And as for how long you'll now wait to make it to the other side.
I think that we're probably going to have a few months of this. I think we'll ride through it okay. You know, we're a resilient country, right?
The University of Washington announced tonight it's going to be moving to online classes through the end of the school year. Spring quarter begins March 30th and will be offered remotely through June 12th. The residence halls will be open to students who need to live on campus, but students will be placed in rooms with private bathrooms to continue social distancing.
A Seattle woman is packing up her life and moving out of state just months after moving here. She says the coronavirus has left her jobless. King 5's Britt Moore has her story.
It's been crazy. I mean, I lost my job in a matter of days.
Naomi Hagelin moved to Seattle back in August.
I'm a server at a restaurant here in West Seattle, so it went from reduced hours to just done. And then with everybody working from home, I lost all of my dog walking gigs too.
7 months later, she's packing up her life again.
The plan was to start at the electrical apprenticeship with the IBEW union here in a couple months, but that's also been postponed indefinitely, so with nothing really holding me here, I have to head back to Alaska.
It's not because she wants to.
Yeah, it's just been a lot of stress. Really anxious to get back to Alaska before I get stuck here without being able to pay rent.
She posted this message on Facebook, a goodbye to the community she's grown to love.
Everybody just being really supportive and saying that they hope I come back, and yeah, it's been tough on everybody, but I know it's tough for them to see people leaving because of it.
She says she's lucky she has a safety net back in Alaska, though not one she thought she'd have to fall into.
Oh, I fully intended on being here for at least the next 5 years, if not longer. Yeah, I love Seattle.
Now she's taking social distancing to a new level.
So I'm gonna pick up and go back to Alaska, where I'm gonna be in a cabin in the woods, isolated for a long time. So it's gonna be a big change.
Her plan still uncertain, but she's trying to stay calm and push through.
I'm trying just not to dwell on it too much and really just let things happen as they happen, because what else can I do?
Britt Moore, King 5 News.
So Naomi flies home to Alaska tomorrow. She hopes to come back in the fall or when things calm down and she's able to find a job. We wish her well.
Well, people still have a lot of questions about the resources available for those who need help. King 5's Jessica Jenner Castro's here with some answers tonight. Jessica.
Yeah, Joyce, a lot of people still wondering when they go to work what to do because they're frustrated with their employers. Amazon, Boeing, Costco, just a few who have reported infected employees. And if you're asking, is there a standard for how employers should respond? The state's Department of Labor and Industries, as well as King County Public Health, have no firm mandate on how to handle workplace absences, closures, or paid sick leave in the event of an emergency like this. Yet, take a listen.
In terms of them being quarantined or isolated by order of a public health official or a medical provider, the employer right now is not required to allow that. However, if that individual then decides that, well, then I am going to need to leave that employment, they are eligible for unemployment insurance, which is partial wage replacement.
LNI says if there are people who feel like they are working in unsafe conditions or could be exposed to the virus, to report those claims like any other. We also got a message from Joy, who wants to know how residents are expected to pay their bills. This afternoon, the governor announced retroactive unemployment insurance going back to March 9th. He also announced a statewide ban on evictions and asked utility companies to waive late fees. Lastly, the federal government is considering sending checks directly to Americans, and that could start as early as April 6th. Those are just two of the dozens of questions we answered during our coronavirus special earlier this evening, and you can find the entire special on the King 5 YouTube page.